In the last video, we looked at how responsive scaling would scale everything up to fit the window, but wouldn't let you design to actually fill that window in an effective and clear way. So let's do that in this video. If we disable responsive scaling and re-enable 100% for width and height, we saw last time that it didn't actually move the objects. Well, if we select the objects, we can actually do that. We've got some options here, global and applied, which are different ways of looking at the same thing. So global will calculate the position of the object as it is relative to the stage, and the applied is what it's really doing. So when you flick these two options around, it shows you what your corner controls are doing. So under global, it's trying to give us an X and a Y value. But if you've got experience with the web, you may prefer to look at this in applied mode, because when you switch these around, you'll notice that changes from the left and the bottom instead of left and the top, and indeed right and top and right and bottom. So you can actually define how an object is going to be positioned. Is it going to be positioned from the right-hand side, from the left-hand side, and so on. Before we get any more into that, let's look at these units as well. Looking at the units, and I'll just put this back to the top left corner for the moment, you can see that I've now positioned this in terms of percentages. Similarly, width and height have percentages. Leaving width and height for the moment, I'm going to take this circle, I'm going to flick this around to percentages as well. What happens when we preview this? Well, you'll see the objects stay the same size, but they do now move around the stage as the stage changes size. If I was to turn the width and height into percentages as well, and remember this is per object, then they will in fact grow and shrink as we go. Now the only issue with that is that they do go out of proportion, which for a circle especially looks pretty bad. It's still going to be a very useful option in some cases though. I could turn that on for the square as well. And now we'll see that, yeah, everything is growing and shrinking along with the resizing of the canvas. Now you may wonder what happens with an image. And so if I was to import an image, let's say I bring in some butterflies, and I'm going to shrink that down so we can see what happens to the whole image. This is an SVG image, in case you were wondering, and I'm going to put that dead center using the alignment guides. If I position that percentage-wise and set the width and height percentage-wise, then I'm always going to have butterflies in the center of screen. Interestingly though, because it's an image and because it's SVG, it's not going to be squished. It just changes size. So indeed you could put a background image in that's going to not get distorted, but instead adapt quite well to whatever size you give it. And this is potentially the holy grail. This is what people want. They want to be able to give one layout and have it adapt to an iPhone that's a little taller, or an Android phone that's a little bit bigger, or indeed an iPad that's been changed in orientation from vertical to horizontal. Unfortunately, if you were to bring in an image, like for example, our friend the sock here, and if you were to resize that so that it would fit nicely on the screen, and set all exactly the same things, and let's just shortcut that, make it a bit smaller, fit that nicely on the screen, and then set everything to percentages, just like we did for the SVG, then I'm really sad to say the sock squishes while the butterflies don't. So the Holy Grail is only really going to help you with SVG images, and not with pings. There are still possibilities for using pings, and you can attack this problem in a few different ways. Let's look at how to anchor things to the corners of our design, because that's one way to get started.